Hello everyone, I am Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. In today's discussion, we'll be understanding how quotas are provided in the elections, say of Panchayati Raj institutions or of urban local bodies, right? Now, there is a provision in the Indian Constitution that the state governments may or may not provide reservations, particularly people belonging to OBC classes of citizens, right? But the Supreme Court has laid down certain guidelines which is called as triple test. So in our today's discussion, we'll understand the constitutional provision which allow for a providing of reservations to OBCs, and also we need to understand what is triple test which the government needs to do before providing reservations to the OBC classes of citizen. And why are we discussing this article? Because Jharkhand is undergoing this process currently of triple test. Now let us understand the context of our today's discussion. Jharkhand right now, it has finished collecting of data based on the populations of OBC living in Jharkhand in all the districts of the state. First of all, and why is government of Jharkhand estimating the population of OBC? Because it needs to provide them the quota in the elections to the urban local bodies. Now, why is government of Jharkhand collecting this data? This is because the Supreme Court has laid down certain guidelines known as triple test. And the first phase of this triple test is that the government needs to ascertain the population of OBCs, whether some OBCs are more backward or not, and then provide reservations accordingly. And this was laid down by Supreme Court in different cases. First is what laid down in the K. Krishnamurthy versus Union of India case of 2010. Later on, it was also reiterated by Supreme Court of India in the Vikas Kishanrao Gawali versus State of Maharashtra and others case in 2021. So in our today's discussion, we'll be understanding what is this triple test all about, how is the government needs to follow this triple test in order to provide quotas and reservations to OBCs in the election of local bodies. Now, the notes for this session, if you want to download it, they will be available on my Telegram channel, ATS Live. So what you can do is search the keywords ATS Live on the top right hand corner of your app, and also you can scan this QR code. This will take you directly to my Telegram channel. Now let us get back to the discussion. First, let us understand what does Constitution of India says about providing reservations in the elections of local bodies, that is Panchayati Raj institutions and urban local bodies. Now you understand the constitutional recognition to these bodies were provided through 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which was passed in 1992 during the tenure of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. Now there is Article 243D which provides for reservations in Panchayat, and 243T which provides for reservations in urban local bodies. Now, this two articles provide that you need to reserve seats for people belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes based on their population. Similarly, reservations also needs to be provided for women across all categories, irrespective of the fact whether they are SCs, STs, OBCs or from unreserved category. You need to provide reservations to women at least on the 1/3 seats of the total amount of seats. Similarly, OBC reservation also can be provided. However, it is not mandated by the Constitution itself. Rather, Constitution leaves them at the discretion of respective state governments that by passing a law in the state legislative assembly, they may or may not provide reservations to the people belonging to other backward classes. And this you can see is very much apparent from the Article 243D6 and T6, because 243D6 says legislature of a state may also make any provision for reservation of seats in any panchayat in favor of backward classes of citizen. Similarly, for urban local bodies also, legislature of state may also make any provision of reservation in any municipality in favor of backward classes. So what you understand from these two words may, that this is at the discretion of the state government and it is not mandated by the Constitution of India. Understood? So you may or may not provide reservation to OBC according to certain circumstances. Now what we have seen that in terms of providing reservations to OBC, many states they have enacted laws to provide reservation. That is states like Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, they are providing reservations to OBC, but since there is no uniform guideline on how much OBC reservation you need to provide, and how to determine whether a particular class is backward or not in terms of political representation, there is no particular guideline. Therefore, the amount of reservation which is offered in different states are varying amount. Similarly, some communities are getting reservations in one state. Similarly, the same community in other states, they are not getting the reservation. So you need a certain criteria which all the states can consider and accordingly provide reservation. And this exact criteria was laid down by the Supreme Court, what is now called as triple test. This was first laid down by Supreme Court in K. Krishnamurthy versus Union of India case of the year 2010. And in this case, the Supreme Court laid down 3 tests which the governments need to fulfill before they provide reservations to OBC. What are these tests? Let us understand this. First, Supreme Court says you need to set up a dedicated commission which will conduct a rigorous empirical inquiry to ascertain the nature of backwardness and implication of the backwardness in local bodies election. So this will identify population, and this will identify the amount of backwardness in varying population. Similarly, by understanding population and their backwardness, this same committee will specify the proportion of reservation that you need to provide to these communities, so that this is in proportion of their backwardness and population, not more and not less than that. Also, while providing reservations to OBCs, the state government also need to ensure that reservations of all the communities, be it SCs, be it STs, be it OBCs, when you add all of them, this does not exceed more than 50% of reservation of the total seats. So therefore, what you need to do, you need to add all the reservation seats and you need not exceed this reservation amount by more than 50% of the total seats. So these are the 3 criteria which any state government need to fulfill before they are providing reservations to any community under the OBC category. Understood? Now let's see why Supreme Court laid down this particular triple test. It said that there is indeed a difference or a legal distinction when it comes to providing reservations for different areas. For example, when it comes to reservation in education and employment, this is different in terms of reservation as compared to political representation. Because Supreme Court of India said that if a community is socially or economically backward, this automatically does not make this particular community a politically backward community, which we'll see in cases of communities like Parsi who are living in states like Uttar Pradesh. Because if I consider an individual Parsi who might be living in Uttar Pradesh, he or she might be socially or educationally backward. This is well understood. But when it comes to their political representation, they are quite vociferous, they are quite vocal. As many political parties, they cater to their demand and they seek votes belonging to members of Parsi community. So is Parsi community politically backward? No. Is Parsi community or members of Parsi community socially economically backward? Yes. So socially and economically backwardness is very different from political backwardness, and this was very highlighted by the Supreme Court in this very judgment. Also, Supreme Court said that Constitution of India provided reservations in different articles because the intention of providing these reservations are different. Suppose if you see reservations in Article 15 and Article 16, this allows reservation in educational and institutions and for public employment, aiming to improve social and economic status. Similarly, reservations for urban bodies and Panchayati Raj institutions, they are provided under Article 243D and 243, which aims for political representation. So what Supreme Court said, social and educational and employment reservation, these are providing benefits to individuals, right? And it is done to uplift them socially and economically. Whereas representation for political, these benefits are provided to community level improvement and empowerment, which makes this community having a greater voice in decision making in the democratic setup. So first benefit that is provided under Article 15 and Article 16, these are provided to you on an individual basis, because you as an individual can get reservations in educational institutions and public employment, and this will allow you to move up in terms of social and economic empowerment. But when it comes to reservations for seats belonging to people from other reserve category, this is a community level empowerment, because suppose if I, being a reserve category member, if I'm elected as a member of legislative assembly or a member of parliament or even a member of these local bodies, automatically I will benefit other members of my community. And this is what was envisaged by political representation, and this is very different when it comes to social and economic representation. Understood? So this was the intention why Supreme Court laid down this particular test. Now, what is happening in Jharkhand? Let us also try to ascertain this. Now, in order to provide reservations to OBC, the Jharkhand government, it set up a dedicated OBC commission back in 2023, and members of this commission, it visited other states like Madhya Pradesh, where this triple test have already been done and the quotas have been implemented, and data collection to ascertain the population and backwardness, it began in December 2024 and it was expected to be completed by March 2025. However, as you understand, government work takes time. This also missed their deadline, and the complete data has reached the commission only last week. Understand? Now, what the commission will do? It will compile this data and make it a final report, and this final report will be handed to many or handed over to many impaneled institutions, and these institutions will verify and analyze the data. And which institutions are verifying and analyzing this data? This is IIM Ranchi, XRI Jamshedpur, XISS, which is located in Kolkata, and this will examine socio-economic and educational conditions of OBCs in the state. And these institutions, after verifying and analyzing the data sent to it by the commission, it will prepare a final report which will be submitted to the state government of Jharkhand, and then according to the report and recommendation of commissions and institutions, the state government of Jharkhand will fix OBC quotas accordingly. So this is the process which the government of Jharkhand is following as per the triple test criteria laid down by the Supreme Court. Now, what is happening in this survey? In this survey, a door-to-door survey was conducted in order to identify the population of OBC voters, estimate their population share in urban local bodies. In addition to data on population, this survey is also considering the political representation of OBCs across various tiers of the government. So, from office of mayors to panchayat committee members, as well as this committee is also gathering the data on the caste of Jharkhand MPs and MLAs, which is seeking from the State Election Commission. In addition to all these data, it is also including the analysis of the winners from general seats in the last two ULB elections. So, it is ascertaining whether or not people belonging to OBC criteria were they adequately represented in various different levels of the government as elected officials, and this is ascertaining this data to understand the levels of their political representation. Understood? Now let us understand why is OBC reservation so important in Jharkhand. Now, according to rough estimates, there is indeed no exact estimate, but according to rough estimates, OBCs, they make up roughly 50% of Jharkhand's population. And in Jharkhand, OBCs are already subcategorized into two different categories. The OBCs which are more social and economically backward, these are categorized under BC 1 category, and the economically and socially and educationally well off OBCs, these are categorized under the BC 2nd category. And currently there are 127 castes in BC 1 category and 45 castes are located in BC 2 category. And among these people, both members of BC 1st and BC 2nd category, they are eligible for reservation, but the amount of reservation obviously is more for the people who are belonging to BC 1 category, because they are more socially, educationally and economically backward. And this is done to ensure equitable representation of both these two sections of OBCs. Now, among OBCs, it is the Kudmi community, which is a subgroup of Mahato caste. They are the largest OBCs in terms of population, constituting about 15% of the total electorate of the state. So this is why government of Jharkhand now want more equitable political representation of these OBCs, and that is why it is looking to provide them with OBC reservation. But they also have to follow Supreme Court directives, so that is why they are following the lead and directives of the Supreme Court, which was laid down in the triple test. First, they needed to form a committee which will ascertain the level of backwardness. This committee will then suggest what is the amount of reservation that you need to provide per different communities, and the third criteria is all the reservation that you provide to SCs, to STs and OBCs in together, they can't be more than 50%. Understood? Now let's see if you have understood this, and please solve this particular question. I'll get out of your way. Let me know the correct answer in the comment section. And the notes for this session, as usual, will be available on my Telegram channel, which you can download immediately after you watch this video. So I'll see you again. Please have a very good evening and a good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.